Hare Krishna. Welcome to the series of Lord Chaitanya. Today we shall discuss the pastime of Lord Chaitanya with a brahmachari whose name was Shuklambar Brahmachari. When Lord Chaitanya was performing Nam Sankirtan in Shriva's Angan, there were many devotees who used to come and participate, very intimate devotees. They were participating in the holy name Sankirtan along with the Supreme Lord. And that time there was one brahmachari who used to come and dance ecstatically. He was always holding a cloth bag on his shoulder, and all the time he was chanting. And whenever he was not in the association, he used to go out and beg some things, some eatables from the people, and offer it to Krishna and eat it. And he was, externally he looked like a beggar, and externally he was very, very poor, but internally he was very rich, because this wealth was not of this lifetime, but he had accumulated this wealth from many lifetimes. And he used to always chant in ecstatic love. Tears of love always flowed from his eyes. So when Lord Chaitanya was in the mood of supreme controller, he was sitting with Nityanand Prabhu, and all the devotees were there, and they were performing Nam Sankirtan. Shuklambar Brahmachari, with his cotton cloth bag hanging around his shoulder, he was dancing ecstatically, and his bag was moving to and fro, to and fro. And all the devotees and the Lord, when they saw that this sight, they felt so nice and they laughed at the sight. So Lord Chaitanya called him, Shuklambar, come here. Shuklambar came to the Lord, near the Lord. And the Lord told him, birth after birth, you have served me. You are my impoverished devotee. You have offered everything to me. You have offering everything to me, you have remained a beggar. And now I desire to accept your offering. He wanted what was there in that bag of Shuklambar Brahmachari. And Lord Chaitanya told Shuklambar Brahmachari, if you do not give me voluntarily, I will snatch it from you. Shuklambar Brahmachari was a little scared, because those rice pieces were not proper for the Lord to eat. It was, the Lord shouldn't eat such food which was gathered from begging. So, but Lord Chaitanya said, in Dwarka, I snatched a bag of chipped rice from you, and Rukmini Devi stopped me. And saying like this, Lord Chaitanya put his hand in the bag of Shuklambar Brahmachari and pulled out some rice and ate it. No one forbade him, and in this way he finished the entire supply of rice. Shuklambar Brahmachari said, my lord, what are you doing? This rice is full of broken chips. They are not meant for you to eat. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I eat with delight your pieces of broken chips, but I will never accept anything from non-devotees. He said, if a non-devotee gives me even nectar, I will not like to accept it. But a devotee, out of love, if he offers me something, it may be insignificant, but I love to eat it. Then Lord Chaitanya said, Shuklambar, I eternally reside within your body, and whenever you go out for begging, I walk with you. You are my eternal servant, birth after birth. In this pastime, we can see that in Vedic literature, we see how the Lord is offered food. First, one has to purify, one has to be a qualified Brahman, and then he has to chant his mantras of the holy names and purify the place, purify the altar, and there are so many things, so many procedure is there to offer food to the Lord. And then the Lord accepts the food. But here we see that the Lord is not even waiting for a devotee to offer him, but he is snatching it and eating it. So we see that these rules and regulations are there, but when there is pure love for the Lord breaks all the rules. This means the conclusion of this pastime is loving devotion is the essence of all rules, regulations, and especially rituals. Let us see history of Shuklambar Brahmachari. This Shuklambar Brahmachari, uh, he was Sudama Brahman, Sudama Vipra, in his last life, 500 years back, when Lord Chaitanya, when Lord Krishna descended to this world. He had a Brahmana friend whose name was Sudama Vipra. He was extremely poor. He had nothing to eat. He had nothing to feed his wife and children. And he was so poor, that they were trembling out of hunger. And the house was not in proper shape. They didn't have proper clothes to wear. What to speak of clothes, but they didn't have proper food to eat to sustain their bodies. So and he was very satisfied Brahmana. Internally he was very satisfied because he was a lover of Krishna. He loved Krishna as his dearest friend. But externally he didn't try much hard to get material wealth. So one day, his wife, he thought, it's not for me, but I cannot see the misery of my husband. The wife was trembling out of hunger. So she pleaded her husband and said, my dear husband, your friend is Lord Krishna, who is residing in Dwarka. And he is always ready to help his devotees. He loves qualified Brahmanas, and you are a qualified Brahmana. You are saintly, you are learned, and you are surrendered to the Lord. Please go to him. He will understand your misery and provide you some eatables and food, and so that we can survive and maintain our life. She also said, of course, I know that Lord Krishna does not provide material wealth to any devotee who asks for it, because he knows that the devotee may go away from him if he is not fixed in the devotional service. But his wife said, but you are fixed in your devotional service. You love your day and night, you are thinking about the Lord. So Lord knows about it. So please go to him. Do not hesitate. And repeatedly she requested, repeatedly she pleaded. And this way, Sudama Brahman thought, all right. At least in his mind he thought, if I go to Dwarka, at least I'll get darshan of the Lord. I will meet Lord Krishna. He's my friend. He may not give me anything, but I'll feel happy to see him. In this way, he became ready to go. And he asked his wife, do you have anything to offer him? Because if I go to Dwarka and meet him, I must have something to offer him. They didn't have anything in their house. So she said, wait. And she collected 4 palmful of chipped rice from her neighboring friends and put it in a cloth bag, tied it and gave it to him. And the Brahmana proceeded to Dwarka. On the way, he was thinking, I will see Krishna, I will meet Krishna. He had no other thought that Krishna will give me something, no other thought. He just was fixed in meeting Krishna. And he was so happy and so eager to meet Krishna. And he reached Dwarka. And there it was difficult to go to the palaces of Yadu. But the Brahmanas were allowed. And there were 3 military encampments and very, very big gates. So along with the other Brahmanas, he entered the palace. He entered one of the palaces of 16,000 palaces of 16,000 queens of Krishna. He was feeling transcendental pleasure. He entered one palace At that time, Krishna was sitting with Rukmini Devi on the bedstead, and he saw from distance this Brahmana was coming, and he recognized his friend, and immediately he got up, he left his seat and went to receive him. As soon as he came with so much pleasure and happiness, he embraced the Brahmana and made him sit on the bedstead. And he was so happy to see his old friend. He personally brought all the fruits and eatables and drinks for Sudama Brahman. He washed Brahmana's feet and he sprinkled that water on his head. He smeared the Brahmana's body with different scented pulp. We can see from this picture, Sudama Brahmana is sitting on the bed of Krishna, and Lord Krishna is serving him with so much affection and tears in his eyes. Rukmini Devi is serving him, and then he performed arti for the Brahmana with different scented incense and burning lamps. And Brahmana ate and drank everything. Rukmini Devi was personally fanning, and seeing this sight, there were so many ladies in the palace. They were all little surprised to see, because this Brahmana was very thin, very poor and dirty, because from the journey he had collected so much dust on his body. And such a Brahmana was worshipped by the king of Dwarka, Lord Krishna. But then they thought in their mind that this Brahmana must have performed lot of pious activities, and that is why Lord Krishna is pleased with him. Then Lord Krishna took the Brahmana's hand in his hand, and they began to talk about their life when they lived together in the Gurukul. Many years back, Lord Krishna and this Sudama Brahmana, when they were in small age, they were staying in Gurukul. Their guru was Sandipani Muni, and they were learning different topics, different subjects from Gurukul. So one day, before that, Lord Krishna said, "My dear Brahmana, you are very intelligent. After you received the education from our guru, you settled yourself as grahastha, as a householder, and you never bothered to acquire material wealth. Such people are very rare, and they follow in my footsteps." He said, "You have used your human form of life as per the instructions of our spiritual master." And he said, "I am the super soul in everyone's heart, and I observe everyone's activities." One day, Lord Krishna said, "You remember, on the instruction of Guru's wife, we went to collect fuel, wood for the fuel in the forest. And there was storm, there was dust storm, there was lightning, there was thunder, and everything became invisible, and so much wind was there. And in the evening, it rained so heavily that we just lost our way and we couldn't figure out how to go back. And whole night we took each other's hands and we just remained in that forest and spent the whole night there. And the weather was so horrible, we couldn't see anything, we couldn't eat anything, and it was constantly pouring. In this way, we spent the whole night in that storm. And the next morning, the Guru came with other disciples in search of us. And when they found us, they became very happy. And the Guru said to us that you have suffered for me. You have suffered for the spiritual master. And this is the way a disciple can be freed from the debt of his guru. And he blessed them. He said, all your desires may be fulfilled. Lord Krishna said, Sudama, it is only by the mercy of Guru one becomes peaceful and prosperous. Sudama said, my dear Krishna, you are the Supreme Lord. You are the spiritual master of entire universe. You are playing a role of a student and you stayed with us in the house of Guru. Then Krishna jokingly he said to his old friend, have you brought something for me? You have come all the way from your home. It's quite a long distance. You must have brought something for me to eat. Has your wife given you something for me to eat? And then Krishna smiled at him. He looked upon him and smiled with great love. Lord Krishna said, definitely you have brought something. Actually, Krishna knew that Sudama has brought chipped rice, but actually it was unfit for him to eat. But he knew about it, and he said to Sudama, Sudama, I do not need anything, but if my devotee gives me something, I accept it. And if a non-devotee gives me something, how much ever valuable it may be, I do not like to accept it. But a devotee, if he gives even insignificant things to me, I not only like to accept it, but I enjoy eating it. In this way, saturated, loving devotional service is enjoyed by Krishna. And in this way, Krishna offers such offerings with great love. Sudama Vipra said, he just couldn't give those chipped rice to Krishna. He felt hesitant. He felt shy to give this chipped rice to Krishna. He thought, how can I give this? They are unfit. They are so insignificant. So Lord Krishna knew Sudama's heart, and he knew that he had come out of request of his wife. And then Lord Krishna decided to give him such wealth which was unimagined by even King of Heaven. In meantime, Lord Krishna snatched the eatables which Sudama had brought for him and ate one morsel. Sudama was shocked. He didn't want it, and at the same time he had brought it for Krishna, but Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he knew it, and he thought this chipped rice is not fit for Krishna to eat. Krishna, for the second time, he put his hand in his bag which was hanging from his shoulder and again snatched one more morsel, and he was about to eat it. Rukmini Devi stopped him and said, no, my lord, one morsel is enough. Whoever gives one morsel to you and satisfies you becomes opulent in his life. This means that if anyone serves Krishna, the goddess of fortune, Lord Krishna's consort, personally goes and makes that person's house opulent. So, Lord Krishna said, this one morsel will not only satisfy me, but it has satisfied the entire creation. So, Lord Krishna was pleased with Sudama, and he didn't give at that time anything for Sudama to take home. He didn't say anything. But in his heart he decided what opulence to give to Sudama. Sudama felt it was Vaikuntha. Indeed, it was Vaikuntha. He did not receive even a penny from Krishna at that time. Next day morning, he left to his home. Sudama Vipra was thinking, Lord Krishna is lover of Brahmana. He embraced me, he respected me. Although he does not embrace anyone because on the chest, because except Lakshmi Devi, but still he embraced me on the chest, and he considered me his real brother. Rukmini Devi personally fanned me, and he was thinking Lord Krishna personally massaged my legs, and he did not give me even a penny, knowing that I may be puffed up and I will forget him. This is the mercy of my friend Lord Krishna. Thinking like this, he gradually reached his home. When he reached home, he saw something very wonderful. He couldn't believe his eyes. And instead, in the place of his cottage, he saw big palaces. And these palaces were not ordinary palaces. They were none other, they were not less than palaces of King of Heaven. Even the King of Heaven wouldn't have such palaces. Such opulent palaces they were there at that place. And these palaces were glittering with gold, silver, ivory, and valuable jewels, valuable stones, and diamonds. They were glittering like sun, moon, and fire. And there were parks with beautiful green trees and flowers and plants. And there were men and women strolling here and there. And there were lakes filled with lotus flowers and beautiful lilies. And there were multicolored birds who were chirping all around. He just couldn't believe his eyes. He said, I have come to my own home. What is this? Whose house is this? Does this palace belong to me or someone else? In this way, Lord Krishna gave the best of the material wealth to Sudama Brahmana. So, in the next episode, we shall continue how Lord Chaitanya, who is Krishna himself, gave the best of the wealth to Shuklambar Brahmachari, who is none other than Sudama Vipra. Do not miss it. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.